Okay, so people on TikTok are talking about the Gen Z stare, which that's when I love social media. Is it's like as soon as I saw the words Gen Z stare, I knew exactly what they're talking about, but I never heard anybody say that. And it's not all Gen Z. I've met many Gen Z that are lovely and have nice manners. Many in my neighborhood have great manners, but there's a lot of them where you talk to them or ask them a question and they're like we went and got ice cream the other night. It was probably like two 18 or 19-year-old girls behind the counter. We walked in. They did not say anything to us when we walked in. And I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And they were like,
This guy's face.
and if the mouth isn't open, they do the like, are you talking? Like, what are you doing? Why are you why are you staring? Just say hello back. What is that? Why do they, maybe some parents of Gen Z, what is with the Gen Z stare?
I feel like I've experienced this too. A slack-jawed kind of empty brain look. What is that? What could that be? I honestly haven't interacted with a whole lot of Gen Z lately. Most of the people I interact with are much older than me. I have in the past interacted with Gen Z, and there does seem to be this kind of disconnect of things going on. I wonder how Gen Alpha is going to be. You know, Gen Z, we think Gen Z is weird. It's like Gen Alpha is going to be even weirder. And I feel like it has something to do with technology and the internet. Weed, maybe. TikTok, yeah. Yeah, SSRIs, maybe. Are they on drugs? My friend one time, he talking to me about one of his coworkers who he was training, and he's a year older than me. He's like, Jake, these kids are like ridiculous. He's like, they don't care about anything. They're just talking about memes all day. You're not reading articles. You're literally just getting the dopamine hit of TikTok or whatever. And I feel like it's like the first foray into a technological generation is that's Gen Z. And like if you were somebody who grew up not on the internet, there was a general push for you to figure out how to be sociable. Hey, how's it going? When you greet somebody, you say, "How's it going? Hey, how are you doing?" And then you have to respond, "Oh, I'm good. I'm doing all right." And you kind of are forced into that because there's really nothing out. There's no escape that you can go to. There's no internet. There's no phone you can get on. And your social interactions were largely bound up in the community you were in, and actual real life interaction. Where now it's a lot of it's online, a lot of it's through the screen, a lot of it's on Discord, it's on calls. It's like totally divorced from and abstracted from real life. I feel like pressures in life, it's like a diamond, right? It's like coal in a diamond. It's like pressures that we have in society and in life force us into a certain mode of being. And in the case of Gen Z, or I should say in the case of prior generations, that would kind of the social cues and social dynamics were not able to be escaped from. You had to make do. You had to figure it out. Now, with the invention of phones and the internet and everything, you're able to escape in your phone. You're able to retreat online, and you don't have to interact with people in life. And that's one of the defining features of capitalism. Hello, capitalism, this metastasizing organism, is set loose on people to figure out and solve problems. Solve problems. And we've solved a lot of the problems. We've solved almost all of them. The one that we don't want to deal with is other people. I don't want to deal with other people. Other people require things of me. They require me to say hello when I walk in. I don't want to do that. Then you don't. Then you don't. I'm not going to interact with them. I'm going to do everything online. I'm going to sit on my phone. How many times have you been at a party or a situation where people are sitting there and they're all on their phone? I hate doing that. When I'm out with people, if I see people on their phone while we're sitting around, it's like, I don't want it to be four people all sitting on their phone. It's like, no, I'll put my phone down. I'm going to try and spark up a conversation because I just don't like the idea of us retreating from reality. The abstraction, the spirit of abstraction, I think is the spirit of the technological age in which we're in. Dexerto says a new study reveals that TikTok and Instagram content actually rots your brain. Rots your brain, okay? Excessive short form video use is linked to reduced cognitive function and lower life satisfaction. This was something that Kissinger said in the Atlantic article from 2018 that we reviewed a while back. And he said that technology, he was talking about AI, but technology in general, is going to cause cognitive diminishment. Humans, will be using technology to such a degree that they will not be able to do things or function on their own, thus creating this feedback loop to where they need more technology to compensate for that. Now, and this is something I was thinking about before the stream. What would your definition of brain rot even be? What would it even look like? They post this picture of some nonsense, right? It's a break from reality. Like this is never going to happen ever. It's quick, it's fast hits, it's no attention span, ridiculous abstraction of what is actually happening in front of you. It's like the overflowing of information into your face, into your mind, causes you to not be able to process things as they are in reality. And adding on AI, adding on all these weird TikTok dances and memes and all this stuff onto it, I feel like that's just even furthering people's breakdown of reality and what they know to be true and right. You kind of need, though, you need a kind of steadiness to your brain and to your mind to where you're confronted with something that's abnormal or horrifying or happy in real life will cause your dopamine levels to rise and lower depending on what it is. So you need to be out this kind of like resting state in your mind, but then like TikTok and Instagram and everything kind of just always has that a perpetual high state forever. And you kind of just need to keep up with it to where if you don't, it lowers. And things in reality are pretty much like here, right? Go to the beach, you go out to the park, you go in nature. Most things are like here. You might have something happen. Ooh, that was, oh, whoa. But that would be normal given the reaction of what's happening in front of you, what's happening in reality. But if everything's always up here and your dopamine plummets and you're at a depressed state, that might be one of the reasons why we have so many people on SSRIs and who want to just pull away from the world. But it's also shaping how you view and feel about things in life. Gen Z 6-7 is cringe. Gen Alpha has brain rot. Gen Z in 2018. Absolute disconnect from reality and what actually holds meaning. I think that's where a lot of brain rot comes from. It's the high dopamine levels, it's the quick fix of the drug, right, of the media, but it's also an absolute disassociation of reality. Because you got to think, there's only so much I feel like you can experience. I mean, there's a lot of things to experience in life, but it's not like you're going to be watching videos of rivers and mountains and lakes and forests and stuff. Like that's pretty fixed in a lot of ways. So you got to start to break out. You got to start to go weirder and weirder. You got to abstract away from reality, and you got to synthesize things, mash things together, things that don't make any sense, and you get the resulting generation with brain rot. And the elite don't, it's like a lot of them don't suffer from this. They're going to run roughshod over generations because their attention spans are fine. Their executive function is fine. Yours is not. You're a zombie and you are drooling into a cup as you stare at me when I walk into Wendy's. You got to get back. You're doing your job. You got to count the change in the drawer, but you're dreaming about scrolling through 6-7 Gooner TikTok Fortnite dances. And you're thinking, man, I want to get back to that. My dopamine levels are so low. Counting this change sucks. Like, I'm not immune to this either. What I'm talking about is part of personal experience. Okay. Some of what I'm talking about, not all of it, some of what I'm talking about is personal experience. I have brain rot too. I got plastic in my balls as well. I am a symptom of the times, right? I am a product of the times. I'm in this world with these people as well, and I'm dealing with it as well. I'm trying to figure out I'm analyzing what's actually happening to me when I'm on the internet, when I'm looking at the comments, when I'm looking at these abstract memes. It's the spirit of abstraction that's coming into full force, that's destroying and eroding my executive function and making it hard for me to sit and read books. I do struggle to do that. I want to sit and watch TikTok. Not really. I don't actually have a TikTok, but I want to scroll the timeline, right? I want just brain rot, drooling content. Yeah, people like that, of course. Rise above these times. So true. Taking it slow. I'm getting back into it. I'm trying to get my executive function back on board. But I think you do that. You get your executive function back on board by doing things, by creating and manifesting things and actually actualizing them, following through with the steps in the plan. A plus B equals C. Follow through with that. Do stuff. Don't sit there and be a passive kind of consumer. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what this part of this channel is. As I'm trying to do something, I got to do something. I can't just sit there and do nothing. I can't just be a watcher. I can't be a cult follower. I got to be a cult leader. That was a joke. That was a joke. But you get what I'm saying. There's a certain level of knowledge in creation that comes out of creation, not just the thing itself that you're trying to create, but also new things that spawn and spin off of what you're doing. If you want to, like for me, for instance, I'll give an example. Starting the YouTube channel. When I started this a year and a half ago, whenever that was, I had a certain idea of what I wanted to do, of kind of how I wanted to be. I had a loose kind of general idea of what I wanted to do. And I remember thinking, you think about, I remember in the beginning, how do I want it? What do I want it to be about? I need like a topic of exactly what I need it to be about. Should it be gaming? Should it be like movies? And I settled, I was like, no, all that I'm going to get tired of. I'm going to get tired of a particular thing. So I said, I'm going to make a loose skeleton of a YouTube channel about things as it is, because that's something I can never get tired of. The ideas of things as they are, especially of our generation, of our time. That's what I think I want it to be about. And I kind of started that way, started to drift into e-drama kind of stuff for a little while. That was interesting. That was fun. And that kind of landed on what I'm at now, which is kind of, I don't even know, cultural analysis, AI analysis, somewhat religious analysis, I guess, which is fun, which I like. But I just like the unfolding of the events in that way, I would have never have understood before I started it. Or I wouldn't have understood the particulars about how to make a thumbnail, right? Even something like that, like how to make a thumbnail, how to make it appealing. That's something you learn as you do it, where you go. I'm trying to make it more appealing. I'm refining. So it's just like doing things, executing, manifest. That sounds so new age. I'm not necessarily talking about it in that new age terms, but actualizing, taking it from the abstracted idea space into physical form. That's what I think is really, when we talk about the elites, we talk about the global systems that are in place right now. That's what I feel like the elites would hate the most. They would hate something physical, something real that is tangible, that actually would require them to uproot, like physically uproot. That's something that's hard for them to get rid of. That's something hard for them to destroy. Like ideas are one thing, and ideas are very important, and fleshing things out are important, thinking things through, of course. But you actually have to executive function. You actually have to manifest it. But you have to have a spirit. You have to have a loose spirit of what you are aiming at, what you're aiming towards. Kind of like I did with this channel. I didn't want it to be centered on one particular thing, not necessarily. And there's still kind of a burgeoning murkiness to it where I don't know if I'm even quite there on what exactly I want to land on. I think I'm getting closer. I like the AI. I like the futurist topics. I'd like to talk about religion, at a later date. But you shouldn't be so pigeonholed. I think that's one of the things a lot of people struggle with, is that they're very pigeonholed into one particular way, one particular image of things going a certain way. And you should have a loose skeleton of what you want and where you're aiming towards. What are you aiming? You should aim it in a certain direction, but you should have the freedom and the loose skeleton to be able to wiggle around and make changes if needed, and allow for creation to come out of that. That looseness allows for creation to spawn off. You can get into something else. I mean, look, Ludwig being in chat, talking about his books, talking about his writings. It's like, look, man, I would never have known, nobody in this chat would have ever have known about you if I wasn't here with the manifestation of this channel. And now we're talking about potentially you sending me stuff on X. We could talk about your writing. I mean, hell, that's manifesting. That's a new creation that spawned out of this. That's a synthesis of ideas. Just get something out there, get something going. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Try and make it as best as you can, put your heart into it, but get it started, get it going. That's what I think. That's been my philosophy the last several years. And so much of the internet, I think so much of the internet aids in this kind of understanding that things have to be, the images we see, they have to be like that. It has to be like the media that we consume. It has to look like that. It has to be like that. If it's not, then it's imperfect and it's faulty and it's wrong and there's something to it. And I think that's wrong. I think that's what's happening with a lot of people is that if it doesn't look like that thing on the screen I'm seeing, then I don't want it. I don't want to do it.